What is up, everybody? How you guys doing? I'm Max from the Marvelous Podcast. I'm joined by Big G. What's going on, G?
Man, what's popping, Max? Man, I'm just happy to be here and talk a little marvelous talk to our viewers, and audience. Man,
I'm excited. We just had, Miss Marvelous season finale, and with that being said, everyone who's tuned in, who's been tuning in, you saw our Thor review, you saw our Thor preview. Just don't forget to hit that like,
yeah,
subscribe, comment down below your thoughts. It really helps the channel. We really appreciate anyone who's given us support, and let's just dive into Miss Marvel, dude.
yeah, for sure, man. Max, I'm just so hyped to talk about it. I just don't know what to say, man. It's just. I don't want to ruin it. But Max, before you do it, I gotta tell them if you have not watched the finale of Miss Marvel, get out of this podcast right now because we're going to spoil the brake shoes off of telling you what happens and some of the things that I know both me and Max are really excited to talk to you about. So shoot it, Max. Go ahead.
Yeah, and like always, we'll give a brief recap, and then me and G will deep dive the episode. So the episode starts off with Cameron and Bruno. They're on the run from damage control. They're hurt. They can't find a place to go. They think, oh, we should go here. No, go to the mosque. Not a great idea. But Kamala, she has a big announcement to make. She's gonna tell her family that, hey, I'm Light Girl. I have the superpowers. I'm Nightlight. But her mom kind of ruined it. You spilled the beans to dad. Dad can't hold water. The brother knows. The brother's wife knows, and they're over the moon for her. Back at the mosque, damage control is there, but my man Sheik Abdullah just killing it. Just saying, nope, you ain't. We're gonna delay. We got these chocolate chip cookies. Enjoy. He hides them in the mosque. They leave. They see Kamala in a dark alley, and Cameron starts to exhibit some of his powers. The blood is rushing all over. He can't control his urges. He just excited to, have superpowers. I'll just
He
put it
said he
like
can't control
that.
his urges.
He could not
Go ahead.
control his urges. They come
Yeah,
up with a plan to go to the high school. It's empty on a Saturday night. When they get to the high school, they're going to make their plan. But Zoe shows up. Kamal's brother, Amir, shows up to help out. And they have a plan to uh, stall damage control long enough to get Cameron out. They called the red scarf, red daggers to
yeah,
get their boy out. And that's what they're
yeah,
going to do.
yeah,
Meanwhile, in damage control, the main agent, she has a choice. She can either listen to her bosses or commit career suicide. And Big G, as well as I do, she chose B. She chose, I want to ruin my career. I
She
don't want
said,
that
"I'm out of here."
401k.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
Exactly. We've all had that moment, right? And
Yeah,
she
for
was just like,
sure.
you know what? It's been a good run. I'm going out with a bang. And the rest of the episode, you get some Home Alone with the softballs, with the little speakers and little night lights and all this crap they're doing. They're distracting him, but slowly, one by one, damage control takes out Bruno, takes out his sister Nakia, everyone else. So it's just Kamala and Kamran. And then
Right.
Kamran asks, "What happened to my mom?" Kamala tells him the truth. He gets mad. He kind of starts getting violent towards everybody. He's powers. He's kind of controlling them pretty well. Compared to Kamala, he's light years away when he first learned about it compared to she did.
Right, right.
But Kamala won't let him hurt the innocent. And then Zoe smartly on TikTok posts the damage control is basically profiling them. All the Muslims come from the mosque there to support. Cameron loses his temper, throws a car at them, but Kamala basically saves the day, kind of protects the
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
And right when it seems like all hope is lost, the Muslims, the Muslim people, the Pakistani, if there's any other races in there, I'm not sure. But
yeah,
they all congregate around her and say, she's ours. We're going to protect her. She escapes. The chick is definitely going on a leave of absence, paid leave of absence till disciplinary actions can happen. They
right.
get Cameron out to Pakistan where he's going to meet the Red Daggers. And, Kamala and Bruno and Nakia, they meet up. They're like, we're going to Caltech. But Bruno couldn't help himself. He had to look at Kamala's DNA one more time. But there's something about it, Sean. There's something about it that's not quite right. A little more later.
Man, Max, just keep going. Just keep going,
And
man.
then I'll wrap it up real quick. You get the after credit scene with the
Man,
bracelet, and someone Ahmad very much hates. And we're glad he's not here for it because we don't have to deal with his hatred today.
right. But guess what? I think he's gonna start loving the character.
I hope so.
because it was a
I
lot.
don't think it's right how he hates them. But look, where do we unpack first? What's the first scene you want to talk about?
Well, before we talk about any of the scenes of the show, Max, let me just ask you a question.
Okay.
As far as season finales are concerned, how do you compare Miss Marvel to the other Disney Plus products that have been Marvel centered and Marvel based? Give me where you say it is, where it ranks amongst Loki, WandaVision, etc., and so on. Tell me where it
So let
ranks.
me start with this. There hasn't been a bad one, in my opinion.
Okay.
Now, I would say this is better than Captain America and the Falcon, Captain Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Okay.
It's not better than Loki. It's
Okay.
not better than WandaVision, but it's in that ballpark. It's in that realm. And I think
Okay.
that's what's important. And this show, I talked to my uncle today, and he was like, I've heard really bad things about that show. And I said, you can't believe that. I
Right.
don't think that's accurate for this show. I think it's a lot of outside sources. And if you listen to this podcast, you've heard us talk about there's a lot of people who don't really like Muslims still to this day. And
Correct.
that if you and there's a lot of that in this episode, primarily in the scenes in the mosque and the damage control. And it's not right and it's not fair. But I would say this is top 3. I know there's only like 5. Damn, man, Moon Knight 2? I don't know. It might be in 4th, but it's like a close 4th. It's not like it's
Man,
bad. It's not bad, right?
I'm saying top 3, Max. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. I think it's top 3, and it ended on a bang. But I want to speak to something you just talked about, man, about some of the dislike for the show and the discourse of the show. The one thing I want to point out is that Kevin Feige and the Marvel crew are crossing cultures to bring us all together in love versus like putting us all in narrow scope and having this side fight that side and this color against that color. So I love the fact that they brought out a brown, what you call a brown character, because she could be Pakistani, she could be Middle Eastern, she could be counted Indonesian, she could be one of those things. But he brought that to the table. So I love the fact that he did it. As far as my rating of the show, 9. I got to give it a 9 for the last episode, man. It was great.
The best episode by far, in my opinion. And we traced through the episodes. I mean, like going back on what we were talking about, right? We gave the recap, so let's deep dive. So here's what I
Right.
like to start off with. You've definitely told your mom or parents something that you've wanted to tell the family, and then they ruined it for you. That's very
Right.
relatable to anyone who's
Right.
you have kids. I don't. And I'm sure there's been a case where that's happened where she wanted some good news, but someone found out and it kind of got ruined.
Oh, I'm a habitual dime dropper. just FYI, man. Sometimes some of my children and my wife, they know if it's certain stuff, dad ain't the one you want to tell. Because amongst I'm tight amongst my family. If it's gonna be me, my kids, and a couple close people. If you tell me something, I'm gonna hold it. Outside folks, I'm always gonna hold it for them. But like in my family, I get so excited about good news. I gotta tell somebody. So I totally get where she was at. She was like, I gotta tell you guys. And they were like, oh, Kamala, you're so good. And
Yeah,
she was like, what the heck?
and she was, and the mom was like super, super like guilty. She was like, but the mom, she came through. She gave her that costume. I thought it looked great. They had the red scarf and the red dagger. They had the S on her chest.
Yeah.
It had the vibrant colors. I thought it looked great. It
Yeah.
might not be 100% comic book accurate, but I thought it was damn good.
Oh, I'll say 95%. I mean, the only difference between the grown-up Kamala and her is that she does go from wearing chucks to boots. But I mean, as far as everything else, mask, scarf, chest plate, it was popping, man. Bracelet, everything.
Are we sure Chuck Taylors are a good shoe to fight crime in?
For her,
like
it is.
your
But she's a
ankles might
kid,
hate you.
Yeah, she better get some Air Max on.
You need some ankle support. Fight crime in high tops out there, kids. Don't go with the bad ankle support. I don't know how people played basketball in the 60s. That's why they were probably walking around with walkers and stuff. But the costume looked great. She runs off. She's running on the light, which I think is super cool.
Yeah.
I would like to, and like you could just tell the maturation of the character, right? In that scene, I thought it was great. Like, dang, she's like really progressed from like klutz to like she's coordinated now. She's a hero.
Yeah. We definitely saw the arc of Kamala Khan grow into the character of Miss Marvel as the story goes. And we'll get to the end and talk how that name and concept came up. But Max, you're 100% right. The arc of the character was just unbelievable, man. So I really dug that.
And this is something I want to talk about. This was, I think, one of my favorite scenes of the show. So Damage Control's going to the mosque, the sheik there. And if I'm saying it incorrectly, please correct me. I do not know. I'm just repeating what I saw on the show. He's the head of the mosque. And he is just spitting fire at this Damage Control agent. And I can't, if you have the line, please repeat it, because I don't do it justice.
Yeah. Where he says, well, he looks at them and they start talking about, well, this represent God and all whatever else. He said, man, young man, let me explain something to you. I'm not worried about if God is on my side. I'm more concerned about if I'm on his side. So seek what you must, or look what you must. And she was like, oh, well, that's your religious tone or God tone. He was like, nah, I quoted Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, I think that scene's telling for a lot about the show. And it was basically, don't judge a book by its cover.
Right.
And she did. She was like, I don't want to hear any Quran messages. And he's like, that's Abraham Lincoln. I'm not just all about the Quran. Like, that showed that she put him in a box. She was like, this is who you are. You're all about the Quran. You're about the mosque. You're about your people. The truth is, he is about his people, but he's also not just about his people. He's going to help other people in need. Bruno's white. We don't know what religion he is. He's not Muslim.
Yeah.
And he helps them out. He's a fugitive.
Right.
And he pulls it down.
But Max, this is the whole thing. The theme of that has been in the show from the beginning. When way back in, I think it was episode 2 or episode 3, when they made the statement, good is not what you are, good is what you do. That ideology like that, and the statement that was an Abraham Lincoln quote that they thought was a religious quote, those things are built into Kamala Khan. She's 14, 15, 16 years old, getting this information on a daily. And so she lives it, and you can see it come out on her character. So that's why I like the cultural references and bringing that in, because you're realizing that you saw a hero, whether she had powers or not, made right in front of our face.
You said it well, G. And then we go to the high school where they're basically putting together a scheme. She's like, where did my brother come from? Where did Zoe come from? And look, it's childish, right? The stakes aren't as high as in Loki, where it's like, oh my God, we're trying to figure out the timeline. You know, it's much lower stakes, but it has an innocence to it where they're using softballs and pitching guns to like destroy these trained agents are looking like clowns.
Yeah. Hey, did you trip out on the part? I had never noticed until the end episode what the mascot was. They were the Bengals.
Oh, were they? I
was like, wait a minute, they're the Bengals? They're the but with a B-E-N-G versus B-A-N-G, but it's still the Bengals, you know? And I was like, oh, wow, what a little subtlety, man, that they put in it. So, but you're right, the scene with they're mixing with them chemicals and whatever the fluff that went all over the school.
Foam, the flubber, whatever that was, like they whooped on them. And you can see that Kamala has grown close to Cameron. You know, he starts to ask her about his mother. But even when they're in the thick of battle, she's holding his hand. She's like, we're going to be okay. And of course, that moment where they get a radio call, so everyone leaves when they're just about to find him. You know, we all knew that was going to happen. And then they're about to kiss. And my man Bruno comes in with off the top rope with a bucket of water. Yeah. And he's like, this isn't happening. Not on my watch. He stops the kiss. That was awesome, Bruno. I ship you and her more than I ship her and Cameron. I'm rooting for you, Bruno.
Hey,
and then Cameron kind of turns.
I got to ask you a question though, just to talk about it a little bit more in depth. How sorry is Damage Control, man?
Look, the Damage. We've been on it since the beginning. That prison was run by the worst warden in history. She committed career suicide. I think who else has committed career suicide in the MCU as bad as her? Maybe Cap when he went against the Sokovia Accords, but that wasn't even that bad.
Yeah. There's been some Harry Carey jumping off, you know, but I think she was the ultimate. Like I think she sharpened up her sword on the side even before it was like, you know, yeah, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna
Exactly. And
make it. You know,
I love a woman who wants to go get it, and like she wanted to get that promotion by capturing these two supers, but man, it blew up in her face. And
yeah,
Cameron, we talked about it last week, right? We thought he was gonna fall to the evil in his heart. But
yeah,
would you say he did? I would say he kind of showed it, but at the same time, he's kind of a kid, right? You can't just judge him like he's not Loki. He's not 1,000 years old or something.
yeah, yeah. Man, I'm just telling you. I think, just to be honest, the whole setup for the for that part of the show and how they still show. And see, this is one thing I gotta say, man, about the whole thing's behind heroes and villains. They are way of what they are before the power show up. And so I like even the setup of the ideology that that's her family that's protecting her, whether we realize it or not. Those are her school friends that don't necessarily look like her, sound like her, act like her. And they're protecting her. And now her brother was part of the process. But man, that spoke how powerful she was as bringing people together. So I love that ideology for that person, man.
I mean, that's been driven into us since Captain America, right? That
Yeah,
serum
yeah,
didn't increase just the good, like his muscles and stuff. It made you more of what you were. So he was good inside. It made the good great. And if you're bad, it turns the bad to evil.
right,
And that's been something from the start in the MCU.
right, for sure, man. I think also that the idea that, so Cameron has powers, right? But his powers, they're not like hers, but they are. And so she went from being like a ragtag, really not knowing what to do, to all of a sudden now she's the protector. And that drove the power out of her even more. And then she was inspired, like I said, by those people. So, that was like a great scene, man, to me, man.
Well, yeah, let's go over the whole last fight scene, right? So Cameron
Yep.
walks out of the school. He's pulsating. He's destroying stuff. He's throwing it at agents. But Kamala, I think it's interesting if you look at how they use their powers, right? Cameron
Mhm.
was 99% of the time attacking. Where
Right.
the only attack I really remember her doing was to destroy that like sonic ray, like sonic beam shooter that destroyed her shield. But
Yes.
even then, they made a very big point to have her go ask, "Hey, are you guys okay?" And they go, "Yes, Miss Nightlight." And she's like, "Please don't. That's not my name." But
Yeah.
if you look at her and Cameron, she's the shield, he's the sword. She was
Right.
all about protection. And Cameron, I mean, he necessarily isn't wrong because he didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
He didn't just. She was like, they made him seem like he was destroying the whole neighborhood. He didn't do that much damage, right? They just wanted to
Right.
take him out.
Right. That, well, the like you said, and you played perfectly where you said that he didn't do. Uh, he's the sword. He's the fighter because he really doesn't understand his powers. You see what I'm saying? So he's pushing the envelope to where Kamala's like, "Nah, I got to protect." So I 150% agree with you about that. And the fight scene, the whole fight scene when they're fighting against damage control, I really feel like that sort of edged Kamala on to take up her powers, right? Because after that, she took on the most traditional. I mean, look at that picture that's on the screen. You talking about a traditional Miss Marvel, hands getting big, legs getting longer, goes from Chuck Taylor's to boots. Man, if there's a comic book accurate pic of a person from the Marvel comics to the MCU, that's it, man. She is the one, man, when it comes down to her powers, man. She's the one.
Yeah, she definitely is, and I love the igloo scene basically where Cameron's like he's gonna destroy everything. He almost killed her friends, and this is after he
Mhm.
accidentally launched the car into the crowd of the people who had congregated to watch them. She
Do you think
saved
he
all
did
those
that by
people.
accident?
He
Do
did
you
do
think
that
he
by
did that
accident.
by
It
accident?
wasn't intentional, but still, that just always shows, hey, if you have great power, there's great responsibility. He could have killed like 15 people. And even
Yeah.
though he didn't seek out violence and destruction, that's what he almost caused. She
Yeah, yeah.
protected him from that, becoming a murderer, becoming everything that they thought he was. So
Mhm.
if that happens, he's already a
Yeah.
murderer. He's already someone who can't control his power. And
Yeah.
I want to point a comment out really quick. Elijah McNeil, probably the best reaction from a family finding out she has powers. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was top notch. I love her dad so much. He is just like, I just really proud of my kid.
Yeah,
He's like, I don't discipline them really. I just want to support them in any way they can. I love
yeah,
that scene.
yeah,
But in the igloo, going back to that, they're in the igloo. She's like, Cameron, like, just get to safety. Your mother died to protect you.
yeah,
It's not like Kamala killed her mom when she should have. Her
yeah.
mother was a horrible person. But, he tunnels out. I mean, look, there's drug dealers in Mexico that could use those tunneling skills. I'll just say that. It was a top-notch tunnel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He
And
was
then,
he was headed somewhere.
yeah, well,
But
to the harbor. I'm guessing
yeah,
we're
yeah,
gonna say he
yeah,
went to the harbor to get on the
yeah,
boat to go to Pakistan, get out of the country. And the girl from Damage Control, Agent Devere, I can't remember her name. She's so trash. She's
yeah,
getting
she is.
fired for sure. They're like, you know what? You've already messed everything up.
I don't
But
know if she's the worst villain or the one that was in WandaVision when he was tracking Monica Rambeau and both of those characters. I mean, were they scrolls? I mean, because they were just trash as far as
you can't
villains,
be
man.
that bad at your job. Like,
Yeah,
they don't
yeah,
understand human like philosophy. You're saying,
yeah. They had to have been scrolls, man. There's no doubt about it. We'll find out later.
but this is the last. We have two more scenes after this one, so this is the last part about this one. When everyone comes around her and forms a circle, it's not just the people from the mosque. It's not just her people. The cops are standing in front. They're like, "Move, sergeant." The cop didn't move. He stood there. He's like, "I'm gonna protect her," because everyone could see she wasn't out there to do harm. She was out there to protect.
Yeah. Yeah, and but once again, here's the people of Jersey City, regardless of creed, color, race, nationality, age, sex, they all come together because everybody else except for Damage Control, who had an agenda, saw that she was a hero. So that was the embracing of Kamala Khan, which at times that she didn't really know her name, they was making up stuff. For them to identify the fact that she's the hero, oh man, that was like beastly. Because where in the MCU have you ever seen the people rally around the hero? Max, I haven't seen it. Have you seen it?
It's no, not really. Like, you can think about early day Spider-Man, how he was treated, public menace.
Yeah.
She's never gonna have to go through that. She's already beloved. And Sean, I want to ask you, finish this sentence. Kamala Khan is blank to the MCU. I want
Can I
you to
have
fill in the
two? Can
blank.
I can I have two words? I'm going to
Sure,
use one
yeah.
word to fill it in.
You get two.
She's transition and centerpiece. She's
So
transition and centerpiece.
I was gonna say she's a bridge.
Yeah, yeah.
She
I,
connects different races. She connects generations. She connects
right,
a lot of things to a lot of stuff.
right. I agree, man. But then that's why I say she she's the transition because whether people want to realize it or not in the MCU, it was really if when you go back and look at phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, it was extremely polarizing, right? It was either good or bad. You were either the good guys and you roll with the Avengers, or you was some level or some part of being a bad guy. And so I think Kamala Khan, Max, you said it perfectly. When she's a bridge, man, she's bringing her thing is bringing everybody together because it's like she just wants everybody to be happy, you know?
I think what she is too as a character, she captures kind of how we feel about superheroes. Like, the first scene, she has the whole room just decorated in Captain Marvel, Ahmad's worst nightmare. His room
Yeah.
would probably be Black Panther and Iron Man and all those people. But she's like, the
Nah,
way
nah.
she feels
He got
about
garbage Batman. He got garbage Batman up there, man.
yeah, we don't
He
talk,
don't have,
we don't say the B word on this podcast usually,
oh
but
yeah,
I
for
guess you just
sure,
said it.
sure.
But I'll
Yeah.
bleep it out. So, like, she's like, I'm in awe of these people. I want to be like them. And I mean, Sean, when you were a kid, I'm a kid. You read these comments, you're like, dang, man, I wish I could be Iron Man. I wish I could be Spider-Man. I think
Yeah.
that's what makes her such a great character, man. And she's not out there for, like, not everyone knew her. Everyone knew Spider-Man before Spider-Man came out as a movie. Not a lot of people knew Kamala Khan.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the fresh and exciting part of Marvel that, whether people want to embrace it or not, with the new lines of characters, Moon Knight, Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, Kate Bishop as Hawkeye, Falcon now being the new Captain America. You got White Vision. There's been so many things change in the MCU, and I think they're just broadening the spectrum. Versus maybe what Max you're saying, maybe getting painted in a corner. But I don't know. To each his own.
Yeah, and one more comment from Elijah. He says, I don't understand her agenda with going after kids. That's why she's a horrible person at her job. That's why she got fired. Even her boss, like, don't do it. They're children. Have a brain.
Yeah. And once again, it just shows how trash damage control actually is.
I mean, have fun in getting your unemployment money. I hope you lose your Fifth Avenue condo you have. Have a good time. Okay.
Hey, but her boss, when he called her back, he gave her the business, man. And my point is, I laughed about that part because I said, I wonder when she picked up her phone and looked at it, how many missed calls was actually on the
it had to be like 237 missed calls.
He was like, didn't I tell you? You better not such and such. You're fired. So I was like, oh my God, this is great. This is great.
So look, we'll move on to the final two scenes. And I know you're like chomping to get to these two. So, she talks to her dad. And she's like, you know what Kamala means? It means, and this, I knew they were going to say it, right? You knew they were going to work it in somewhere. She's like,
yeah,
you're our little Miss Marvel. And I was like, oh, there it is. She gets the smirk on her face. Kamala means Marvel. Yeah. I mean, it was awesome. It was great to see her finally get her name because Nightlight wasn't doing it for me.
Yeah, she was like, I share the same name with Carol Danvers. Oh my God. His dad was like, who the heck is Carol Danvers? You're our little Marvel. You're our little Marvel. You're our little wonder. You're our little, miracle. And she was like, oh my God, I've been a Marvel all along.
She's not just a Marvel because like I alluded to earlier, Bruno, he's like, hey girl, I was looking at your DNA, just sweet talking her. I mean, I don't know how you top that, but he's like, there was something in your DNA and that something was a mutation.
Oh my God.
He looked at her brothers. He was fine, but there was just something different about her DNA. It was a mutation. And Sean, just take me through your thought process when you heard mutation.
Well, it wasn't just the word mutation because I literally paused it and I was like, I know he didn't say what I thought he just said. So I stopped it at that point and I rewound it. And then I watched it again. And then when I watched it the second time, I heard da-na-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na. And I was like, wait a minute. That's the freaking X-Men 97. That's the X-Men music playing in the background. They're saying mutation. They're saying mutant. Wait a minute. Kevin Feige. Wait. Kamala Khan's a mutant? Oh my gosh, she's the first mutant. Oh man. I lost it, man. I lost it. And every person that I talked to today, because believe me, when people started watching the show, my phone rang off the hook today with folks talking about that scene. And they were like, dude, mutants are in the MCU. Dude, mutants are in the MCU. And then, of course, I'm not trying to ruin it. So I stayed off the internet and I looked at some of the channels that I follow and looked on the internet. I was like, oh my God, they're going to break the internet because Kevin Feige, but it makes sense, all the sense in the world, Max, because Kevin Feige said when the show started, he has been so anxious to get to Kamala Khan and introduce her to the world and go down the story of her so that way we can see how she's going to change the MCU forever. I actually got the recording of it where I watched it, and I was like, okay, Feige, you sold me on watching the show. At the end, I totally understand why he said what he said, because he's been saying from D20, to D2000 or D2019 or San Diego Comic-Con 19, oh, you mean the mutants? He's never said the X-Men. So now we got mutants,
Well, he has a past, right, with mutants and X-Men because he started off as like a assistant camera guy or something. He was like on the set of X-Men, right?
Right.
And he has a unique past with it. And I mean, how many times can they like allude to mutants without saying mutant? They could have said it was mutant, but he said a mutation. Right, and we're just getting to that point. We saw Professor X and Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. We know X-Men 97 Volume 2 is coming out.
Yeah.
So it's slowly moving there. And it's just going to be interesting to see how we get there. And I mean, this was what he must have been talking about. Because the first 5 episodes, they were good. But it wasn't like, dang, this is breaking stuff right here. Oh my gosh. Like, they introduced Kang the Conqueror. No,
Mm,
they didn't. But with the mention of just mutation,
yeah,
oh my god, it opens up a box.
right. Well, I think he played three card money, because we know Kamala Khan from the comic book as an Inhuman. She got her powers by being exposed to Terrigen Mist. This changed her power set, saying that it had something to do with a bangle and her ability to be able to go from the Nor dimension and be like a djinn or a clandestine. But at the end, he flipped the script and was like, no, she's not a Nor. She's not a clandestine. She's not a djinn. She's not Kree. She's a mutant. Her stuff's different than everybody else in her genealogy line. And the young fella found it. So I'm like, man, what a way to subtly, and I think they move the needle real fast from here. They go from, okay, they're in, now let's run with it. I really do believe, and that's why I say, when you said bridge about Kamala Khan, and Max, I just wanted to say, man, he is on top of it as far as understanding what this person does, because she not only ties world bridges and differences, she ties comic book history and the mutants into the MCU. We were all wondering how it was going to go, how they were going to get it. And Kevin Feige knocked it out of the park by changing up and taking liberties of a character and turning her into a mutant. That was just outstanding, man.
And mutants have been long missing in the MCU. It's
Yeah.
been we're not just talking about X-Men. We're talking about other people too. Like there's a bunch of them who aren't associated with them, who might be heroes or criminals. Spider-Man,
Yeah.
he's kind of a mutant
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah, he's a
He was born a
mutate.
human, and then they changed his DNA with the spider bit him.
Yeah. Well,
But
as far as the comic books, Namor was the first introduced mutant. Namor was, and then if you go back as far as timeline, Apocalypse in Sabanur is, so it's mutants have been around forever, but it's just they haven't been in the MCU. That makes sense.
Yeah, we've seen mutants in crappy movies for 20 years with the occasional good one sprinkled in.
Yeah. Thank goodness that the mutants are home with Kevin Feige in the MCU. Man,
from the studio that brought
home.
you Morbius.
Oh my God. No,
it's Morbin time.
I can't believe we made a Morbius reference on this podcast, man.
That's my goal, everyone. We might change it to Morbius talk. Morbius talk.
We went through 6 months with Mod believing that Mephisto was lurking around somewhere in every show. So I was like, Mod, get off the Mephisto train. So now Max is on the Morbius train, man.
I'm writing it to the sequel, my guy. Let me tell you. But Kamala Khan, she's not just connected to that stuff, right? She's not just connecting the mutants. She's connected to the Marvels. And in the post-credit scene, her bangle starts acting like, yo, what's going on? And she gets slammed through the cupboard or the closet door. And lo and behold, we see Ahmad's arch nemesis, Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, appear in her. And is she playing Captain Marvel, or is she Kamala Khan like in Brie Larson's body? Because she's like, oh, no.
Bro, look at her left wrist. That's the part that I want to point out. She has never, ever had anything on her wrist that looks like that. That's not the communicator that she was talking to Nick Fury with. That is a different type of item. So does that have something to do with that possibly be a connective piece for the bangle and everything else that's going on? Even maybe Shang-Chi's rings? What's going on? And where in the heck did we just got introduced to Kamala Khan? Where in the heck is she at? Because Brie Larson's there now as her place. So I'm like, man.
Well, Kamala's going to be salty when she hears about this because that's her girl. Like, I got to get the autograph. She's probably also, if that is Captain Marvel, she's like, why am I in this psychopath shrine to me? Am I in my stalker's house?
Yeah. She looked around like, wait a minute. Is this?
Well,
this
my ex-boyfriend.
This can't be real. This is not real. There's
no
way.
You called it. I said we weren't going to see Brie Larson, and I was like so happy. I'm like, yeah, I didn't see her the whole show. They didn't get name drop her. I thought Brie Larson was going to be like, you're a little Miss Marvel, and that's how she's going to get the name. But and then you see the Kamala will return for the Marvels, which is huge. We kind of expected it.
Yeah.
Now she's tied to a major movie in the MCU, and you might have mixed feelings about Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel the movie. Me and Sean like it. There's a third person here who we specifically did not have on for this reason. Just kidding.
Yeah.
It's a
But
huge
hey,
product in the MCU. She's a huge character. She's powerful.
I think we're gonna, when it's all said and done and Ma gets back here in the near future, I think we're gonna be able to convince him that he's gonna give at least her a second chance. He might just not just keep throwing her away and saying that she's trash. He might actually give Carol Danvers a shot. You know, I really do believe it.
I hope so, because it's not. First of all, it's not a bad movie. She's not a bad character. Yeah, the actress has said some stuff that made people mad, but come on, just learn to love everybody. It's not a big deal.
Yeah,
But as for a post-credit scene, I thought it was pretty smart. I liked it, and it's
yeah,
kind of, when's the Marvel supposed to drop? Next year?
yeah. It Max, out of all the post-credit scenes we have for the television shows, the Disney shows, I mean, the only one I could think that's sort of better was the Loki, when you pulled out of it and there's a Loki statue in the place of the time
Man,
variation
Moon Knight was
people.
pretty good though with Jake Lockley.
Yeah, but man, Brie Larson, which we like we said, you know, I was the only one I think that said she was coming. I knew we
Yeah,
was gonna get a something, either with a scroll or something, but we tying her directly into that movie,
but
man.
I
And
mean, doesn't that kind of say you're right too? If it's Captain Marvel, Miss Space with the scrolls and the Kree,
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I,
I'll give
I'm
you a half a point for being right about that.
yeah. Hey, but I'm telling you, I'm hyped now. That made me hyped about seeing the interconnectivity between her, Kamala Khan, Monica Rambeau, and Brie Larson, Carol Danvers. You know, they're all connected in some capacity, more deeper than what we thought. They just don't share the name of Marvel. They're almost interchangeable. So, like, really, what's going on with the Marvels? That made me just like anxiously want to see more all of a sudden.
And look, me and you were partners on this. I'm going to throw you a lob right now because you told me about this theory.
Mm.
Bruno is going to Caltech. That's in my home state of California, which is on the West Coast. So, Sean, I'm going to lob it up to you. I want you to tomahawk it, windmill, whatever you think. What does that mean for the future of Kamala Khan?
So, if Bruno's on the West Coast going to school, Kamala Khan's up out of Jersey City, y'all. I think that Kamala Khan is either going to be part of one to two different teams. She's either going to be a member of the young or new Avengers, which is going to be established on the West Coast. But I'm hoping and praying that Marvel really brings up the West Coast Avenger team, because they're shifting a lot of the action from the East Coast, out of New York, out of Jersey City, out of where Wanda was at, and they're pushing everything towards the West, pushing everything towards the West. So if you're going to do the West Coast, you got to do the West Coast Avengers. You have to do that team. So if she joins that squad as a newer addition to it, man, I'm loving either that or the Young Avengers. Either way, I'm down with her being part of that team, man. West Coast Avengers, man.
You put me on that theory, and it just makes sense. You know, she's not a stupid person. She has the college transcripts out too. So we
Yeah.
might see her. We might see her on the West Coast, and we have She-Hulk coming. West Coast Avenger. The
Yes,
West Coast
sir.
on the rise, man. You know, this isn't Star Wars. We can leave the planet of Tatooine. We can leave the city of New York. If you think a lot
Right.
about the recent films, Shang-Chi,
Right.
China, West Coast, San Francisco. We got Ant-Man coming, San Francisco again.
Yeah.
We had Thor, outer space. Have we had a movie
Yeah.
take place in New York
Yeah.
in the
Well,
last
heck, even Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they went to Madripoor.
Yeah, they went to
So
Madripoor. They were in New York too. I'll give them that one, but maybe
yeah.
Hawkeye too. They're in New York for Christmas, but
Yeah.
it seems like there's a shift though. There's a shift coming, and it's
Yeah.
global. It's kind of like let's go everywhere. We were in, like you said, Madripoor, China, Egypt, all
Mhm.
around, man. And it's good for the MCU. We don't have to just be in New York.
Right. Right. I think Kevin Feige followed the NBA model. And he's like, global.
This
Global.
isn't the NFL. Let's get
Yeah.
global with it.
Yeah. We're not NFL bound. We're not Roger Goodell. You know, let's roll with this global. David Stern was the guy that actually did it, and then Adam Silver picked up the ball and ran with it. Like he was like, I got to score a touchdown because this guy set it up for me perfect. But the NBA is global, so what the MCU global. That's where we're at with that ideology.
Are you good on Miss Marvel, or is there anything else? Because I'm all tapped out. Oh, you know what? No. I'm sorry. Let's give our winners and losers of this season or episode. Let's do that real quick, and we'll give a final grade, and we'll move on.
As far as characters, winners and losers,
yeah. First winner, I loved Sheik Abdullah. Man, I thought he was throwing fire at her, helping out the homies. He's quickly but one of my favorite minor characters.
Yeah, and I love her parents. I'm not. Matter of fact, I love her. I love her whole family. I love her mom, her dad, her grandmother, her brother, her sister-in-law, the whole family. Man, I'm down with the cons. I might not be a con. I'm gonna change my name to Big G Con. I'm down with the cons, man, for sure, man. Because I love her family.
I have to say another winner for sure. I mean, obviously Kamala Khan, but I think just the viewers. I think this show was really well done. It's the viewers who aren't, white, or there's people who are brown, or the minority viewers. I would say they're the big winners of this show. I mean, it was great. Everyone loved it. I know, who I talked to, but I think it means a little something more to people like me who are brown.
Yeah, definitely. And every time we get a different rendition of a different character that represents a different nationality, culture throughout the world, it's all good, because all you're doing is spreading the knowledge, the information, and the love for the MCU across the planet. So once again, it gives that connectivity that we really need in this world now more than ever. So, we all need to be fighting on the same page for the same cause. So I love the fact that Feige's using this little corner of the world to bring that connectivity to all of us, man.
Any other winners?
Love it. Bruno.
For breaking up that kiss, or potentially getting Cameron out the picture so he can go bag Kamala?
I think Bruno has the potential setup. I know we know we're going to see the red daggers. We're going to see them. We know we're going to see Cameron. We know that because we're going to see he's got powers, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to blow his story out of the water. But I think that Bruno is going to be pivotal. I could even see Bruno taking on maybe not necessarily a Tony Stark-like role, but a guy who helps forward technology and being like a sidekick to a hero. Because every great hero has a true sidekick. I mean, look at Paul Bettany, who was Jarvis, became Vision in the show.
Are you saying Bruno's in the Ned guy in the chair Hall of Fame?
Yeah,
he has the potential.
Yeah, he's at the door. You know how at the Hall of Fame you get the invitation and they tell you got to go check in this hotel.
Right now he's a semi-finalist. We're still reviewing his case. We still got to see a little more.
Yeah, Bruno's got an opportunity to get invited to the hotel. Somebody might be knocking his door, say, "Come on in, young man, you've joined us."
Just that big dude from the NFL Hall of Fame, David Baker. I love it.
Hey, could you imagine Bruno's? Could you imagine Bruno's bust?
Jesus, no, I cannot.
Bruno's got a bust like.
Look, Bruno has Hall of Fame potential. He's not first ballot yet.
Yeah.
He's still got a ways to go. But look, let's hit some losers. Obviously, the late anyone who is associated with damage control. I'm talking about the shareholders, the president, because that stock's plummeting. She lost her job. Damage control took the L this whole season.
Yeah, if they're not your top loser, you didn't watch the show. I mean, they absolutely. I'm talking about all the way. We're talking all the way from the guy that ran it to the guy that goes gets the coffee for the guy who ran it. The whole organization, from head to toe, even their sorry prison, damage control is trash.
They got 4 guards murdered for no reason who were just doing their job, clocked in the day, say, "Hey, dude, how you doing?" "Oh, it's just a Tuesday." Little did they know. Another loser for me, in the scene where Kamala's running across the sky and everyone's looking at her, there's the guy doing the gyro, and he's spraying all that sauce. I feel bad for that kid because that thing was covered in whatever that was. That's a
He
big
better
loser for me.
one bite, 2 days in the bathroom.
that's
one bite,
that's
2
the
days.
awful ratio.
Yeah, 2 days in the toilet, one bite, man. It's unfortunate, but he's taking an L. He's
Uh,
taking an L for
Another
sure.
loser for the finale, Ahmad. He didn't get to see his favorite character, Captain Marvel, appear on the screen in front of us.
Man,
Just missing out.
Max, we gotta keep hope alive for Mod, man. I think Mod's gonna come along. I think he's gonna come along with Carol Danvers, man. I think that he's gonna see the light at the end of the tunnel and just not paint her all the way in the corner and give her a chance. So we got to give Mod a chance. But as of right now, Mod, L. You taking an L, man. An L for the show for sure. Because you didn't like Carol Danvers, but she's there.
And last thing, give me your episode grade and final season grade.
Final season grade. Well, first of all, episode grade. Episode grade, 9. The finale, 9. Final season
10.
grade,
I'd
10.
go 10
wow.
for the episode. Yeah, I really liked it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Season grade, 8.7, 8.8, somewhere in 8.7, 8.8.
I'd go 8, solid 8.
Yeah,
it got a little slow, but the highs were pretty high.
Yeah, and just I think I got to get it as close to as a 9 as I possibly can for the season, just because mutants are now in the MCU. I mean, that alone gets it at least 2 stars. So if you were on the fence of about a 7, 9, or 8, 1, you got to jump way up to that 8, 3, 8, 5 range just because mutants are now in the MCU. So I gotta roll with that grade. Gotta roll with that grade.
I didn't factor that into the grade, but maybe I'll go 8.2 now. I'll give it just a little bit of a boost just for that last announcement.
Max is coming around.
I wanted to ask you something, and this is something I've been thinking about with, I think Thor is getting a little bit too much hate.
Yeah.
And look, Doctor Strange, they cut 45 minutes of the movie out. This movie, they cut a bunch of stuff. Christian Bale said Gore had scenes with Peter Dinklage, had scenes with Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
They've cut a lot. So my question to you is Marvel in a box? And what I mean by that is, let me explain before you guys judge me. Think about the first phase of the MCU. They were writing the rules as they've gone along. We're 30 movies in. We have 100 hours of content just passed. Shout out to MCU.
Yeah.
But we have all these rules now. We have rules that explain space. We have rules that explain powers. We have rules that define the timeline, that explain Asgardian laws. We have all these rules now. Is that hampering movie making? So, and by that is, if Sean, you're directing a movie, you can't just make what you want. You have to say, hey, does this check with this? Are we in like the right time period? Does this character appear on screen here? Does this happen then? So what do you think?
It's a two-sided or two-part answer. Okay. The first part of it is, I think that we're getting spoiled because of Disney Plus. I mean, even though we have to wait from Wednesday to Wednesday, when you really look at it, like the show that just ended, 6 episodes, every episode around 50 minutes. That's a 3-hour movie. So if you don't sit and watch it, and then you watch it all at once, you got a lot of entertainment for 3 hours. And I think that's what we were used to when we got down the pipe through phase 3, through Infinity War and Endgame. We were like, man, I don't mind going to sit, But I think some of the rules, and the second part to the answer is, I think some of the rules with the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and Thor: Love and Thunder was created because of COVID, right? It's like somebody putting their feet in the water, just trying to test if is it warm enough? Can we go back in? So I think that there was pressure put on the directors to say, hey, man, you got to cut this theater time down. I think there's going to be a turn or a change, because there's no way in the world Wakanda Forever can be under 2 hours. There's no way.
Is it them saying, hey, COVID, we got to keep under 2 hours? Or is it, hey, we have stuff in the pipeline that we don't want to get out? Because in in Doctor Strange, you told me there was a fight scene between the X-Men that got cut out.
Yeah,
there was something else that Tom Cruise was in the movie. He got cut out.
Namor too.
Namor too. So is it just we don't want to reveal this stuff yet? Is it part of the master plan? Because I mean, look, I think I would say Thor: Love and Thunder,
Mm-hmm.
it was good, but I thought it was going to be a little better. Same thing I
Mm-hmm.
feel about Doctor Strange. There was just something missing. I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 8 out of 10, but I was expecting those movies with the ramifications they held to be 10
Mm-hmm.
out of 10s or 9 out of 10s.
Well, Max, that speaks directly to the fact that them cutting the movies down. I mean, realistically, if you would have got 20 more minutes of Doctor Strange and you'd have got 20 more minutes of Thor, they probably would have been 9 or 10s. Realistically, nine between 9 and 10, somewhere in that ranking. Because and the shortness or the cutting of the movie played directly into that. But like I said, I really do believe that they were checking to see if the water is warm. And I think the pressure was more from the studios than the pressure was being put on the studios and them saying, okay, look, we gotta be COVID friendly. But I'm telling you, with Wakanda Forever, there's no way that movie's 2 hours. That movie's got to at least be 2 hours because of and you'll see, and that's something I'm going to talk about when we close out the show, why it's going to be 2 hours long. You'll see. But does that answer your question? Does that make sense of what I
No,
said?
I just wanted to have a discussion. I makes sense. I'm just kind of like, man, I'm just been a little disappointed. Is there like an oversaturation thing where, in the pandemic we had a big break with MCU, everything it was like a year.
Yeah.
And then we just get smacked with a Disney they didn't do this. They had no Disney Plus shows when the pandemic happened. Then they're like, here's Wanda, here's Shang-Chi, here's Captain America, here's this movie, Eternals, bang, 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 bang. Is it too
Yeah.
much? Do we need to maybe space it out a little more?
Well, we're actually going to get some space here, So we're going from today's the 7/13 of 2022, right? We don't get our next Disney Plus show until August. There is no MCU movie until November, so there's going to be a little breach or break. The fill in is what we're going to talk about at the end. There's a fill in that's coming, but it's not necessarily a movie. It's just for people to realize that I think they fed us up January to July. They're going to give us a little break. And then after July, going into August, they're going to mash the gas. And I think this time when they mash it, they're going to go harder than they probably went since maybe phase 2 going into phase 3. Like to me in the Marvel lore, after Civil War, they mashed the gas. They mashed the gas from Civil War all the way to Endgame. And I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see from Wakanda Forever all the way to wherever how they want to end phase 4, they're going to mash the gas. That's just my thinking.
And people have talked about should there be a Thor 5? To me, absolutely. If you give Taika Waititi and Chris Hemsworth another chance to make a masterpiece, you just got to take that chance. You don't blow up the Bulls after they've won 3 straight titles. You let them cook
Correct.
one more time. Because I like the movie. Thor: Love and Thunder is a good movie. I think in a few years it'll be looked at a lot more favorably.
Mm-hmm.
But let's give them a chance. And this is the last thing. Maybe is there just a chance that maybe Doctor Strange and Thor were kind of like so used to seeing them, we're kind of a little tired of them?
Could be.
Is there a little chance of that?
Yeah,
More
it could
Thor
be.
than Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I mean, Thor, there's never been a character appear more in Marvel than Thor. Thor now, because of his sightings in this last couple of projects, Thor, Asgardian-based stuff. I mean, you had a whole series about Loki, his brother. And there was references. There was even the frog Thor on the show. So Thor's been in more titles or more episodes than anything in the MCU. So I think there's a little bit of fatigue. But the story, it's got to go on. They just introduced Hercules. That Zeus sent him after him.
Come on.
They
Thor's not going anywhere, everybody, and he shouldn't. Let's not overreact to one movie that might be a little bit less than what you thought it would. And
yeah, and we
think,
know Strange is coming too. We know that because
absolutely. And I have no problem. What's been so nice about this last phase. So Shang-Chi's phase 4, right?
Right.
I think so many people enjoy that movie. One, it's really good, but it's fresh. It's a new character. It's someone you're like, dang, I want to spend more time with that person. Like Thor, we spent like 10 hours with him, maybe like 15 hours with Thor.
Yeah.
Compare that to Loki, who maybe had an hour and a half of screen time, spread it throughout, where it was never like, oh, he's always supporting Thor. It's never about him. So maybe that's something that's been really like nice. That's why maybe What If was so nice. It was refreshing.
Right. There's no way they're going to close out Thor without introducing Beta Ray Bill. I mean, just, for those that think they have fatigue, Beta Ray Bill's going to show up in the MCU. He's too pivotal of a character as far as Thor. Same difference with Doctor Strange. You're going to see the continuation because Clea just got introduced. So you have two pivotal characters that tie to them that's just now getting introduced to possibly the 5 movie for Thor and the 3 movie for Doctor Strange. So they're not going anywhere. I just think we're going to take a break from them for a little while.
Do you see a path with Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange and Thor, Chris Hemsworth, kind of like Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., and Chris Evans, Captain America, where they were the 2 marquee guys. They've said they were like the guys carrying the franchise, like the whole MCU. Mm-hmm. And then slowly but surely, they didn't get like Iron Man 3. He was done. Mm-hmm. He was in the Avengers movie. He was in Captain America, but they kind of stopped with their own movies. Do you see something like that potentially happening in the future, where they kind of take a seat from their own movies, but they're still like, because first of all, Benedict Cumberbatch and Chris Hemsworth are the 2 guys now. They're the top of the food chain in the MCU as actors go. There's no one more well respected. Kevin Feige's talked about how Benedict's kind of are like Robert Downey Jr.'s heir. So is Chris Hemsworth to Chris Evans.
Right. Yeah, I think, like you said, they ran the gauntlet because that was what happened in phase 1 and phase 2. They ran us Captain America. They ran us Thor. They ran us Iron Man, So they ran those characters, and then now it's time for Hemsworth and Cumberbatch to take over. The next parts you'll see, like you see, they'll have guest appearances here and there. And then eventually, when they come to tie all this thing together with a nice bow, you're going to get Thor 5 and Strange 3. I think those, to be honest, if I had a prediction, those 2 movies, I think will close out phase 4 or be the very first things that you see at phase 5.
Our third person's come to check in on us, Ahmad. What's up, guys? What up, bro? We're doing good, man. We're almost to an hour, and we're gonna hit our parting shots because I know you'd be mad at us because we're going a little bit over our time. But you know what, G? We started early. We can go a little late. It's okay. We're not bound by you anymore. You're not holding us back, you Captain Marvel hater.
Hey, you gave Mod the business, man. When he comes back, I can't wait to be like, bro, what's up with Carol Danvers? I mean, I promise you, I might open up a show, his first one back. I'll be saying, man, what's up with Carol Danvers, man? Just to fire him up to see. But shout out to Ahmad. He's actually out on the road right now, ministering across the nation. He's on tour. For those people that know, my brother's a Christian hip hop artist. And so he's out on tour right now. He was in Evansville, Indiana the other day, and he was in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I seen him. I think he was in Kemet, Texas, and he went to Albuquerque, New Mexico.
He's all over the place, bro. He is traveling. He's racking up those frequent flyer miles.
Yeah, for sure.
This podcast that flew by, Sean. I had a great time. So we're gonna wrap it up with our parting shots. I'll let you go first.
Man, ladies and gentlemen, all our Marvelous Talk viewers, all the people that's out there, please, please, please join us Saturday for our Marvelous podcast, somewhere around that noon hour Eastern Standard Time, 9:00 on the West Coast. What we're going to talk about, I think, is our expectations and some of the big reveals that we know from the rabbit hole concerning San Diego Comic-Con 22, which if I had the bread, I'd be in San Diego on the 20th of July. I'd be there, man, because I think we're going to get some of the biggest reveals in Hall H. There's already been leaks out there of what's going to happen on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But on our show on Saturday, we're going to talk big and huge about San Diego Comic-Con and some of the things that we expect to see moving forward from the MCU.
I love it. I can't wait. I'm excited for Saturday. My parting shot would be people who have disliked this Miss Marvel show. I think if it's something to do with the show, it's cool. I get it. But if it's something to do with the imagery of Muslims and Pakistani people and Indians, and I mean, just stop being a hater, and this show was really good. It was an experiment. It was a bridge. It's going to bridge that young generation to the old generation, and people are going to grow with this show. And Kamala Khan is a bridge. That's my new motto for anyone who asks me about her. Even the way you described her, G, you said she's like transcendent. I'm like, that's how you describe someone who's a bridge. Like that's what a bridge does. What you were describing. And like Mod said, we got mutants now. So look out for the mutants. We're gonna talk about it on Saturday. Mod's in San Antonio tomorrow. So whoever's out there, go holler at him. Go tell him, hey, Captain Marvel rocks. You do not.
Go up, walk up to him and say, Carol Danvers.
I mean, we are the Marvelish pod, you know, Captain Marvel's. That's his parting shot. Mod's parting shot. We have mutants now. Look, can't spell Captain Marvel without Marvel. You can't spell Marvelish talk without Marvel. I'm saying
that's right.
We share a name.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So with that being said, me, Big G, and you know what? Mod from the comments. We are out. Peace. We'll see you guys Saturday morning.
For peace.